say hello. I'm going to go ahead and start. So it's been fun. If you have questions about the program, please, we're on the final days. I've been having a lot of fun chatting with people in Zoom Messenger, or not Zoom Messenger, Zoom or Messenger, right? You have to sign up for a Zoom meeting, which I'm happy to do, or you can just Facebook message me and we'll chat. So let's get into it. Today's a great topic. We're going to talk about how to manifest more money and miracles. This is your birthright. This is a juicy topic for sure. So today we're going to talk about abundance. And I want to talk mostly, well, we'll see. We're going to share a little bit of stories. I think those are always helpful to kind of shed light on things. And I want to, but also a lot of like kind of powerful mindset shifts, right? Some tips that will help you perhaps see yourself within it, be able to have some tangible tools to help you align more. And just talk about, some stories that happened to me along the way that helped me to really raise my ability to receive more money with more ease and grace, right? And I continue to do this money mindset work. You just know this doesn't end. This doesn't end. There's always the new levels bringing up more things for you. And in some ways that can actually bring up more fears because you feel like you have more to lose in some cases, right? So the money mindset piece is something that we always have to work on because we're going to have deeper levels of self-worth, deeper levels of fears, to continue to align with ourselves, which is really what it requires. So I want to hear in the chat, do you believe that abundance is your birthright? Do you actually believe it? I know sometimes we're not living it, but that fundamental truth that you are hardwired, you are deserving, inherently deserving and hardwired to be able to create whatever level of abundance you want in whatever way you want. Now that level of success is going to be different for different people, and we all get to have our own version of that, and that's beautiful. And that's what makes the beautiful place in the world, right? We all get to have our own unique path about it. But at the end of the day, we are meant to be abundant in all forms, in health and wealth and love and money and fulfillment, right? And so I want to talk a little bit about alignment to start with, right? Because I know this is a tough topic too. So if it gets into triggering, I'm not going to purposely trigger anything, obviously, but I know that money is a triggering thing because it's very much rooted in survival. Right? I've definitely been there. I can't tell you how many times I've always had my last dollar, been self-employed. I didn't get paid steady paycheck ever. And, I felt that responsibility and sometimes it wasn't there, right? It was like day to day, not even week to week. It was not check to check. It was day to day, right? So I understand that is very real when it's not showing up for you, but it will, and it can, and it's meant to. And so money is a really powerful teacher if we let it be. Right? If we can look at it and really lean into that and take, again, personal responsibility for what's going on and really kind of go underneath the surface of what is actually holding us out of alignment. Because the truth is, when we are aligned with our higher self, when we are embodying our higher self, when we are expressing our higher self, right? That was my very first spiritual business, was called Divine Spark Within. I've had many iterations, as you all will too, if you do this work. But my first one was like, align, embody, express your divinity. And I was like that, and it's still always been my message, but that's what I feel. It's not that simple, but it is that simple, right? That's what we're here to do. That is our most simple life purpose, is to align with our higher self, embody our higher self, and express our higher self in all areas of our life. And if we don't, then we're going to hinder ourselves. We're going to find ourselves in misalignments, and it's going to show up through, what we all know, different types of dark nights of the soul, big or small, hiccups, little hiccups, big or small, right? So when we can really attune to that and really pay attention to that and really always take full responsibility for that, we can shift and adjust things very quickly. And so this is really one of our biggest sacred healing works, in my opinion, as well. When, we have to get right with it. We have to get right with our money because it's everything. It's so tied to self-worth. It's so tied to our self-love. And it's tied to, for those of you, and this whole conversation will be extremely relevant if you don't feel called to be a purpose in the world, but I know that many of us are here. We will not be able to fulfill our purpose if we don't allow ourselves to receive the attention, receive the know our worth, to know our value, to be able to charge for it, to show up and able to be seen for our truth and for what we're here to share. Because a lot of us have to work through our fears around showing up and lighting people up in the world with our message, right? Because it will trigger people a lot of times. And we have to allow ourselves to receive for it. Because if we don't allow ourselves to receive for it, we will not be able to make the impact that we were born for, right? And because it takes a team, right? I would not be able to do this free 4-day series without a team, right? Or money. Honestly, it costs me the most money of anything I do in my business. I put the most money into this: time, energy, and money. And I know that there's no expectation that majority of the people aren't going to sign up for my program, which is absolutely fine, because that's my larger purpose. It gives me a platform to be of service, and then the right people will jump in, right? But what I'm saying is I could not do this by myself, right? I could not. And so we have to allow ourselves to receive support sometimes from others, and receive money, right, for our gifts, so that we can pour it back in and give back again, right? Because otherwise we'll just deplete ourselves and we won't actually get the money going to begin with, right? So there's a lot around this that is part of our sacred healing work, is what I'd say, right? And I think that most sensitives, we have a lot of, love-hate with the word money. As a lot of times I have always kind of see it, to me, money equals freedom. Money gives me the freedom to make choices that are aligned for me, not what my bank account allows me to do, right? To me, money is freedom of choice. It's freedom to be in alignment, to choose things that are in alignment, and to live in alignment, and to have experiences. We're meant to be both a global support, but first we have to be it for ourselves. If we're not it for ourselves and we don't allow ourselves to enjoy the things in life and receive what we want to receive in life personally, we're not going to actually be able to fulfill on a larger level. Or if we do, we'll get burnt out, and it won't be the proper alignment to get the highest effect, right? Does that make sense? So we have to figure out our money stuff. And it's a journey for sure, but how you can tell is just what's showing up and what's not, right? And so when we want to do a little bit deeper work around this, so that when it is happening, we can shift it into alignment, and just look at it as that, right? Look at it as shifting into deeper alignment. Sorry, I have my big selenite crystal, like put my little feet on. All right, so so your money flow or not flowing is just an indicator of your current alignment, and it can be changed. It can be changed very easily. And sometimes we have to do the deeper work. And so the first tip I want to give you, I'm going to give you a few tips to put into action, because I think that's important, right? I do daily mindset work myself. I might not always focus just money, but I do some form of meditation and journaling, and that'll be the biggest bang for your buck. Not only affirmations, though, they're great. It helps to reprogram your mind and ease the stress and shift your energy. So I think that is a part of how I work energy as well. But you also got to get under the surface of what's actually going on, because you can't really just affirm over a faulty foundation. So you want to affirm, and you also want to do the deeper work, and you want to do that together. And then the two of those things can be very powerful catalyst to shift your energy. Okay. So the first time is just taking the time to be aware of what are you thinking, right? Like anytime you say, oh, I can't afford it, right? Or I'm just waiting for the universe to bring it to me. Well, the universe in reality is always bringing it to you. It's not a jackpot machine. We don't just hit the lever and go, okay, I'm going to pull this lever of the jackpot of the universe and just give it to me. That would be great. It doesn't work that way though, right? The universe is always like, I'm ready to pull the jackpot for you. Just receive it. Open to receive it. You're worthy to receive it. It's why sometimes people win the lottery, in the US at least. They'll win the lottery and then suddenly be broke because they haven't calibrated to be able to keep it or receive it. Or people have really big feast or famines. I definitely had feast and famines, whereas like, oh, money would be coming in, but it's going back out, and it's coming in and it's going back out. I couldn't keep it, right? I had to make it because I had a daughter to provide for, so that was going to always allow me to make money to survive, but it was in survival mode, to keep it going, right? And it was very interesting too, just as a side note, when she got to be 18 and moved out, I had to get real with my money story again. I was like, oh, I was consistent, easy. I felt it was easy, pretty easy to be good at that point. But you know what? My driving factor was to do it for her, not for myself. So when I went to go into my spiritual business and she was no longer dependent on me because she moved in with her boyfriend, I was like, what's happening with my money? Why isn't this working? And there's multiple reasons, of course, because there's other things when you make your own, shift into your spiritual work. But a big part of it is that I was doing it for her, not for myself, right? In a big way. And so I had to really kind of double down on a whole nother round of like, wow, I'm worthy to receive, just to receive, and get really excited about what I wanted and give myself permission to know that what I wanted, I deserved, and really start to work the energy all over again after I thought that things were okay, right? At a certain point in my life. So really, it doesn't ever end. It's not a jackpot. It's a co-creative experience, and it really is dependent on us. It's dependent on us. So What I would say is to ask yourself when you're in that space, because sometimes there is universal divine timing. I'm not saying there's not divine timing. There is at times divine timing, but what I'm inviting you to consider is that, are you in those times? It's to cultivate trust and faith. So we will have times that we are like, okay, I'm double down on the trust and faith. I can't tell you, I have actually, literally, I'm not joking, literally put my last $100 on a massage because I knew it would bring me more money. I was working too hard. I was working too hard and I knew it. And I was dried up and tired. And I was like, dang, I got $100. I'm like, well, I'm getting a massage because I need to receive. I need to open. I need to let myself breathe in. We can't just breathe out all the time. We have to inhale and exhale, inhale and exhale. And I knew at that point that I needed to, you have to balance that. So if we're undercharging or not charging for your spiritual work, eventually, yeah, it sounds great. Well, does it? I don't know. It never sounded great only to me to be so humble of service. But I know a lot of people have that mindset. I don't care about me. I don't care about things. I care about everybody else. Well, you have to care about you in order to receive, to give to everybody else, because you're going to be given from an empty cup and you simply won't create it. You won't create the impact if you don't allow yourself to receive. Right. And so, but then you can go ahead and turn around. Like, I had my money mindset coach. I went to Australia, which that was a massive stretch in my comfort zone for the amount of money I just gave her for 3 days of mindset stuff that I teach even, but I knew being in her energy, there was something there for me. But it cost me a lot of money to do. And it was a big stretch of my comfort zone for sure. Right. So I'm always doing the same stuff too. Just know I'm not preaching only to the choir. I'm doing this actively, which is why I've been able to grow so quickly at the same time. It didn't always seem quickly. There's a lot of stagnancy for a while, but once I really clicked into alignment with it, you got to keep going with it. Right. And so are you passively waiting or are you actively waiting? Passively waiting is rooted in fear. Passively waiting is often going to look like excuses that you're not willing to look inside and do the deeper work. If you're actively waiting, because yes, there's certain levels of divine timing and alignment for things that sometimes we may want faster than is going to come or meant to come, or we might, get frustrated with this 3D world. I think a lot of us remember our spiritual selves on other places, and it's like, we didn't have to work so dang hard. What's this time thing? God, for the love of God, is just ready, but so yeah, there's that. But mostly if you're actively waiting, you're doing the inner work. You're like, okay, I'm not aligned for it yet. So what can I do right here? What can I do right here? You're actively working, you're actively surrendering, you're actively trusting, you're actively trusting and surrendering and faith, and trusting and surrendering and faith. You've got to build that muscle, because especially in this line of work, you will have to do that a lot, because you will not be making logical choices that people are going to understand, right? A lot of the time. And that's going to be your fast track. That's how you jump timelines. That's how you have quantum shifts. That's how you do it, because you've cultivated in these darker times, you've cultivated that faith and trust that you are actually truly always provided for. And you believe that with every fiber of your being. And when you believe that, you are allowed to make choices even when your bank account says you can't. Because if you know it's the right step for you. Does that make sense? And you build to that, right? I'm not suggesting you just start there, but this is why I say ask your angels every single day. What can I do to align myself? Get to, your intuition, get to trust your spirit team, get to do that, so that when you're called through your comfort zone, because you will be, to fast track what you're supposed to be doing, you had to have cultivated that muscle in order to do it. Just like when I first went into my speaking, oh my God, you have no idea how painfully shy I was. Oh my God, I would not. Like I said, the first day when I shared my story a little bit, I would not even do my oral reports. Then good thing I was a nice little honors, okay, I'm a good student teacher, but I'm not doing that. So I'll come in the morning and they would let me, which didn't help me at the time, but it did at the time, but didn't, right? And so when I came to the speaking thing, which is what my angels were guiding me to do, was like, oh my God, $1,000 a month. That was a lot for me at the time. I was like, $1,000 a month for 22 months to learn my biggest fear. Are you freaking kidding me right now? And I felt it though. I was like, oh my God. And they're like, but you have the choice, right? The TLC meditation, the body meditation, I told you to feel into your body. There's a difference, fear and misalignment, right? Out of comfort zone or misalignment. People scapegoat not digging into their fears and call it misalignment. Oh, the universe will just bring it to me if they want it. The universe will just give it to me if they want me to do it. Really? No, I'm telling you, you're going to have to get clear what that discernment is and be honest with yourself, and then do the deeper work. And then sometimes leap in faith. You're going to leap in faith a lot. And that's what I had to do, because it was scary, but I'd already built enough trust that I knew I could trust and leap, right? So are you actively waiting or passively waiting? What are you doing with your time? while it's not coming in? Are you taking responsibility? Because if you do, you can shift things very easily. And that's really tip number 2, is that you have to have that energetic alignment to be able to receive. You have to have the willingness to address the inner blocks, right? You have to do the shadow work so that you're a vibrational match to actually receive what it is you want, right? And it's not a one and done. It's not a one and done. I still have some of the same fears spin my mind sometimes, but I've gotten better at quieting it down, not listening to it, addressing it. I'm not ignoring it. I think we should listen to our fears. I think we should listen to our ego, and we should listen to our wounds and our inner child, but don't believe it. Don't believe it. Listen, go, what's going on? What's happening? Why do I not feel safe right now? Because it's an old story playing, but it's showing you something, which is your goal. That's where you go in and say, oh, let's lean into that. What's actually going on, right? Like this happened to me another time, when I was, probably like about 10 years ago. I was really straddling. At that point, I committed to the work. I started getting over my speaking fears, because then in that moment too, I knew the money was my first excuse, because I didn't have my mortgage payment at all, even in my bank account. How am I going to irresponsibly sign up for $1,000 a month program? I'm like, but I felt it. They're like, well, it's your choice. You can push it off, because we have free will of choice. Right? Just because we're destined for something does not mean we're going to hit that mark. So people fail it all the time and do it over the next lifetime. I don't want to do it over the next lifetime. Neither do you. Right? So I'm hunkered down to doing the work. But you have to look at that, because just because it's possible doesn't mean you're going to hit the mark if you don't do the work consistently and stay committed and keep recommitting to that deeper work. And so at that time, I trust and leave, because I realized I would just be pushing it off. I could not do it, because I was really afraid I wouldn't show up for the speaking. I was really afraid that, oh my God, what if I did show up and I had to do it? Like that was scary, right? And on everything else too, light up my parents and the spiritual stuff and everything. So there's lots there, but I did it. And then I was going along for a while, and I kept hitting dry spots. I was like, why is this still not building? Again, I was not blaming the universe, but just notice when you do that, because that's actually your reminder, that's your awareness bell to lean into it and really start to give up the fight. Because when you're fighting for your fears, fighting with your angels, blaming somebody else, blaming the government, it's not the universe, it's not the government. Take your power back from all of it. I'm not going to let the government control how much money I make. No, because I've got other work to do with it. Right. And they don't get to anyways, because I want to do other things. But it feels like that. If we let it, we give it power. And so we need to take our power back. There was a time about 7 or 8 years ago, I was working at this point pretty hard. And my business had then evolved. It evolved to several iterations. Blissful bride coaching, that was safe. I was already doing weddings. Oh, have a happier day. And then it was like empowered women's leadership. Oh, that's safe. I was never inauthentic, but you can see the progression of my spiritual work and how it evolved. And it did not ever really provide for me until I clicked into saying, fuck it. Sorry, but that's pretty much what I had to say to do the spiritual work and be a psychic teacher, because everybody, even coaching programs, were telling me, you can't sell transformation. I was like, no, but I'm a Scorpio. Like I'm a light worker. Like I am. And I finally just threw it all to the wind and did what I wanted to do. And that's when everything really started coming and the impact became, and the money came as well. But for about 5 years, I was doing empowered women's leadership, which was still aligned and very good work, for sure, but it wasn't working. And I was arguing with my angels again, which is a good indicator. If you do that, when you start arguing with them, fighting with them, I am trying, I am doing the work, but only 2 people are coming to my classes. Why is that? I'm trying. You're not bringing them to me. Bring them to me. I was kind of having that conversation, getting frustrated, getting tired, getting burnt out. I wasn't aligned in my business fully, but I was trying. And I thought I was. And so I was frustrated, super frustrated. And so I had to get underneath it and go, okay, so why am I not allowing? Why am I keeping my classes small? Why am I not letting go of the security of my hair business? Because I could really, at the end of my career, because I knew how to work fast and efficiently, I was probably working 12 to 15 hours a week, and I was still hitting at least $8,500 a month, And so that was easy. I probably need a little break, but it gave me time to step into this business. I wouldn't have been able to, it would have been hard creating business working full-time hours. So I reduced my hours, but still it wasn't coming in. And so I was frustrated, and I looked at it, and really what was underneath it, I was afraid. I knew I was going to go speak places. I knew I would be moving, because a vision I saw was not here, right? It was not here. And I was afraid that if I allowed the money to come in and fully step in, then that means I had to let my daughter go. I thought immediately like the universe was going to pluck me up and move me somewhere, and I wasn't ready for that. I was like, I want to spend time with her. Like, I'm not ready for that. And so instead of being faced with a choice that I didn't want to make because I knew I was never going to forego on my purpose work, it's who I am, I'm not going to do that. But I didn't want to be faced with that choice. And so I just sabotaged. I sabotaged myself in making the money because I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to leave her or here or whatever. And that was that day I knew would come. And so there was this sense of like, I wanted that time with her and I gave it to myself. But the funny thing is, I could move anywhere I want. I started getting myself into position to be able to make big moves when it came because I knew that it was going to come when I stepped into my power, into my purpose fully. But guess what? That time has been here for quite a while and I haven't had to move. It was all a false fear, right? False, what fear is it? Fear appearing, false evidence appearing real, right? Yes, that's part of my plan and vision, I'm sure, at some point somewhere, who knows, right? Exactly when and where. But at the end of the day, I was so afraid of that choice that I didn't let it come in until I addressed that. And guess what? She got to move in with me. She's been living with me the last 2 years and it's been a great time. And we also know that, she'll probably go off her path and I'm going to do my thing. But we got that time, right? But I was afraid of not having it, right? One thing to know is that you have to get under the fear because the fear will make you self-sabotage what you're doing. And the other thing to know is that you do have a choice, right? And the third thing to know is that when you are aligned with your higher path and purpose, you will love it. You'll be ready and you'll love it, right? And you still always have a choice. So you have to get underneath it. That seemed like a very sideways thing, that why my classes weren't growing. Oh, suddenly I have to move away from my daughter. It wasn't really true, but it wasn't true, right? At the same time, I wouldn't have to do anything I don't want to do. I could do it and I haven't done it because we're here having fun right now, right? But that's the thing. So 3, you have to get really curious. So that's the thing. You got to double down and just go, what am I really hiding from right now? What am I really hiding from right now? And do the work and keep doing the work until it shows up, right? Because that's going to be part of it. The tip 3 is actually curiosity of how can I? So this is a good tip. Also, I love this. My friend told me this when she said, I don't know how, but I'm willing to allow. So if you're in a situation or you're faced with a decision of, wanting to take a leap of faith or wanting something different, you have to cultivate the trust during that time, but you can just get curious, get curious. I don't know how, but I'm willing to allow. That's easier than affirming something you don't believe. Because if you start affirming too high of a thing that you don't believe can create resistance, actually, which will work against you if you don't do the underneath work. It's okay if you're willing to light up the resistance to do the work, but if you don't do the work, then you're going to create more resistance, which will keep you a distance from it. So you have to just get into, well, how can I? Right? Or I'm curious how, or I'm on track to $10,000 a month. You maybe can't affirm I'm making $10,000 a month right now. Maybe that's your goal, right? Probably is a lot of your goals. I want to make 10 grand a month in my spiritual work. Okay, great. But if you're making 3,000, that's a big jump. Maybe it's, I'm on track for allowing my purpose work to create a solid income for me, right? Like that feels better in your body. So you have to be careful with affirmations that you make sure that you can believe it enough and be excited by it and not in so much resistance. And if you do get in resistance, you have to do the work or it'll be working against you. Hope that makes sense. So you have to kind of get honest with yourself and get into the energy of curiosity. And the mind will get in the way a lot. The mind will get in the way a lot. And so you have to really surrender the fears, like notice them, but don't believe them, basically. And just kind of take the 1 step or 2 steps at a time by asking the universe, what's the next step I can take right now to be aligned with your bigger vision? Because if you start looking at your bigger vision, it's going to be so overwhelming, you'll just spin your wheels, right? Like I did. I don't want to do speaking, right? Well, okay, it took me another 5 years to do that. I don't want to do, well, it's another 5 plus however many years till that's been longer, right? So it's like, you know what I mean? Like we have to get through it and then just know that we're taking 1 step at a time and things will line up for it, right? And so sometimes we have these bigger visions ahead just to snap us into the reality of actually starting to do what needs to be done in order to align up with it, right? So I don't know how, but I'm willing to allow and just take the 1 or 2 steps. The universe is always working. And also I think another belief that could be really powerful is that the universe is always working for you, never against you. Your universe is always working for you, never against you. So even money problems, that's working for you. It's working for you because you're limiting yourself in some way. You're misaligned in some way. You're not trusting something. You're not taking the leap you're called to make. You're letting your mind take over. You're trying to figure out the how. The how doesn't make sense. It'll never make sense. The how is going to limit the heck out of you. Now you're in the 3D world. We're 5D people. We don't have to live by that. But our mind will want to keep you a slave there out of fear, actually, right? And so you have to continue doing the work and just remind yourself that I don't know how, but I'm willing to allow. I'm going to bring it in. I'm going to take the 1 or 2 steps at a time. And so if you're in a waiting mode, be active with it, right? Be deliberate with what you're doing, because that will make a big impact. Okay. So that's that big thing there. So a couple of other stories. So I'm going to come up here. I haven't even looked at comments. I get very distracted sometimes. Like, I was trying to answer everything. But yes, your feelings are an indicator of how aligned you are. Yes. You'll feel like it's the right thing. Exactly. It will find you when you're ready. Yes. And we have to step in. Usually we're delaying things, you know, most of the time we're delaying things somewhere. A lot of the time, right? And it's okay, because also I think sometimes we have this expectation that's going to be quicker than it, you know, we want it to be quicker than it is sometimes, but I really need to hear this right now. I'm currently pushing past resistance to write and publish a book. Awesome. I love it. Exactly what I need to hear. Good, good, good. All right, good. I'm just checking it. I get on my little stories. Active. I'm deep in the work. Awesome. All right, so a couple of things that happened, like I'm just going to give a couple of examples because sometimes those are helpful. That gave me some good, like there are 2 points in my life that I really shifted my energy. And the first one, I remember I really wanted to go on a spiritual retreat. I just had my awakening kind of kick off 2008. And but within a year in, I was like knee deep in a whole bunch of programs, year-long programs all at the same time. It was kind of crazy making. It was fun, actually. It was really good, but it was a lot of spiritual work. And I saw they had this dolphin swim at the wild dolphin retreat in Hawaii and Kona. I was like, oh my God, my whole body just got so lit up. I was like, I want to do that so bad, you know, but at that point, you know, we didn't do family vacations. We didn't ever have money. You know, we lived in a neighborhood that looked like the facade, everything's great. I'm really good at like, oh, it all looks good. And then on the inside, it's not, right? It's how my family was. It's like, oh, we lived in a neighborhood. It was all like people did have money and like, but we didn't. And so it was like, oh, you know, we never did those things. So I wasn't brought up thinking it was okay even to have the savings to really go on vacation or give it to myself. Oh no, I should pay bills. Oh no, I should give it to my daughter. Oh no, there's all these other responsible things I should be doing. What are you thinking? Like that's what would go through my mind. Even the first thought of it, but my body lit up. Like my whole body tingled when I saw those little dolphins. And I wanted to swim with them so bad. And it was like a year away still. And my mind still said I couldn't have it. But then I'm like, you know what? That's BS. I'm going to ask my angels, because I started working with my angels. That was one of the first spiritual tools that came in, you know, with my angels. And so I was like, okay, I'm willing to allow. I don't know how, but I'm willing to allow, basically. So show me how, because I want to swim with these dolphins. And it was still like a year out. And they're like, at the time I was still doing hair. And so they're like, just take all of the wedding money that you get and put the cash in a box, because I got paid a lot of cash. So I'm like, all right. So this is like December. The trip wasn't until the next November. I think it actually was on my birthday, which was kind of fun too. But so I said, okay. So I started putting the money away. Well, I didn't even look at the money, didn't count the money. I just kept putting the money in the box. And then probably like 6 months later, I was getting excited because I started to feel like maybe this could happen. And it was going to cost me like $5,000 probably, which was, again, this was a long time ago. Well, that was just a lot of money for me to spend on myself. Basically, I'd never done that before because I was self-employed. So I wasn't getting paid. So I was missing clients is how I was looking at it. Plus I had to pay, the trip was like $2,700 for a week. And then I had the flight and then I had food and, you know, I was looking at $5 or $6 grand for me to have fun. Who would, you know, I couldn't give it to I couldn't receive it yet. So I had to acclimate. And so I counted it and I had almost all the money, or I did have all the money. Actually, I had all the money by the early bird special where I actually saved $200. And so I went to go hand my teacher at least the money. I still had 4 months or probably it was like summertime or something. So I still had several months to get like my flight together, which wasn't that much. And so I'm like, oh, I could totally do this. I went to go hand her the money, literally as white knuckling hundreds of dollars of bills. And $2,700 basically. And I went to go hand it to her and I froze. Like I got super triggered. I'm like, I want this though. I'm like, I couldn't move. And I just gripped the money and I got super triggered. And all I could hear was my parents and my family and how they're responsible. And there's so many other things I should be doing. And I just like freaked out. And then my teacher, she saw it because she's a psychic teacher, of course. So she's like getting a little triggered. I'm like, and she just sent me that little hello and helped me bust it. And I was like, I was afraid I wouldn't be able to create it again. So in that moment, she said, she kind of just spoke to my spirit and she's like, don't be afraid. You're afraid you're not gonna be able to create it again. Like you're limiting yourself. And so I realized, and I just like threw the money on her. All the money went over the whole room. It was pretty dramatic and funny. But I went, and guess what? I went next year for 2 weeks, and I was paid as a healer. The whole thing was a write-off, like everything. And I went 6 years in a row, at least for my birthday, to celebrate swimming with hundreds and hundreds of Bell's dolphins, which is like the most spiritually exciting and happy experience for me ever, and helped me grow in many ways. As soon as I did it the first time, I expanded because I gave myself something. I decided I was worthy of it. Right. And so that was a huge shift because I've never given myself anything like that. It was so outside of my realm of like even the possibility of being able to create it. So that was really significant. And of course, once I did it once, I started, oh, this is great. I'm always going to give to myself. Oh, if I invest in myself, I'm supported. And I knew that, and it changed everything. And so I just heavily invest in myself. I have no fear about that. Not that I don't, we always have things. I'll just always do it, basically, which is how I could take that speaking thing, even though I was afraid, because really I was afraid of having to speak more than I was the money. And so anyway, so that's one thing. So it's like your responsibility, the family judgments, the programming, I can't do it again. I was like, that's such crap. I'm going to never be able to create anything again. If I don't do this, I'm actually screwing myself. So I did it. And that was a lot of fun. And then I just kept doing it. And then I kept growing, right, and healing. So then the other thing that was coming to mind is a story that might be helpful, because this was actually a big one where I didn't know where I was blocking myself either. Again, you're going to get many cycles of these kinds of stories, And so I had this time where this is not, well, it wasn't really my fault. So I seemed to have my 2 big awakenings. This was like 2013 or something. So while it wasn't like my fault accident. My car basically, though, it ran me over, literally. It popped out of gear. My door's open. I was getting ready to go to work and my door was open, and it popped out of gear and I got trapped under the tire. And basically all of a sudden I was just like out of work. Like I couldn't work at all because I had to stand all day to work. So my money required me to be there. And so all of a sudden, out of nowhere, right after Christmas, I didn't have any money saved because I didn't ever save. I didn't know how to save money at all then, And so all of a sudden had no money coming in, and I couldn't work for 6 weeks. And so at this point, though, I'd far enough along because I'd been doing the work. I'm like, oh God, what's my opportunity of transformation here? I'd like to know, please, because what did I do? Because I was stuck in bed like for 6 weeks, basically. I couldn't even walk. And so I basically was in bed listening to my angels a lot. And this is kind of at a time when I was wanting to be serious about my purpose work, but I hadn't quite got over my fears yet at all to really get it going. And so it was kind of like this wake up call where I sat there in bed, basically healing myself. Now, and the funny thing is, honestly, it wasn't funny, but the angels said, basically, this is your time to just say yes. Like you say yes to everything. You give, you provide, you've had to do everything on your own. Like you need to receive, you need to allow yourself to be supported. And that was humbling and hard for me, because I am used to, I think it's part of control to feel safe and in control. I was in control of my money. I was in control of my life, right? Control feels like you're in control, you're not, but it's like a safety thing. And so, I just always had to be the one. So I did. And in this case, I felt very humbled because I had to just receive and ask for support a lot, which was super humbling. So I didn't like to do that. And so they're like, just say yes to everything. So I sat there and basically like I got so many miracles, and I had to catch myself all the time where I was wanting to block them. Right. And as a couple examples, I probably made more money sitting there in my bed than I would have if I worked, actually, but I was afraid because I didn't know how I was going to. Like, don't worry, it's all handled. Just say yes. And I was like, okay, I'll just say yes. And so I meditated. I got more healing. I mean, I stuck spiritual communities. They're sending me healing. I had my teacher actually that helped me with the dolphin retreat. She had a medical intuitive healing course. So they have students that had to practice. So she let every single student had to give me a healing and reading every day. I was feeling good. I was meditating. I had all these ideas. I'm like, wow, this is great. And making the best of it, basically, and getting these downloads about what I'm supposed to do, of course, because I was finally clear of the busyness to be able to see it and hear it and receiving. And then I had my dad was helping me a lot, which was really nice, but he was stressed. I could feel his stress because he's basically paying my mortgage payment. He basically was offering basically to pay everything, but he was as much as he could, but he was just strapped. And I realized that his stress, and I had my car payment, which is like $500. And I was like, oh crap. And the angels were like, just say yes to everything. So anyway, setting this all aside, I kind of missed a part. I had a client who wanted to make me a walker bag. And she's like, I'll make you a walker bag. And I was like, oh no, I didn't want her to waste her time. I was trying to be nice, like, oh no, go out of her way making a walker bag. I won't be in it long, I'll be fine. By the time it's done, I'll probably be walking. And then I heard yes. So I text her back. I was like, oh, okay, that would be very nice. Thank you. Yes, please, And then she's like, okay. And then the next thing comes in, people are like lining me up for dinner. They're like, oh, I could bring you dinner today. I'm like, yes, thank you. And then I'm like, oh, then it got so much that I was like, oh, guess what? I've got dinner the next 4 nights, but if you want to bring me dinner on Saturday, that would be great, So I've got people bringing me dinner. I had my salon person go, oh, that must be hard, not work. Don't pay your $800 rent this month. No worries. I had a friend who was like, he worked at the salon I was at, and I gave him my clients because I couldn't work for 6 weeks. And of course, people can't not have their hair done. So I was like, go to my friend. And so he's like, that's got to be rough. He's like, I'm going to pay you 20% of all of your clients that I do. And I was like, I normally would never say yes to that, but my heart was like, I was just like, oh, yes, thank you. How humbling, right? But that was very nice. But it was hard for me to say yes to that. Normally I'd be like, oh no, you're doing the work. But I was like, yes, thank you. So he paid me that, so everybody was just like, it came in, but then I was still $500 short for my car payment. And I didn't want to ask my dad because I felt his stress. He would have done it, but I didn't, I don't know. He would have figured a way, but I didn't want to ask. So the angel said, it's all taken care of. So then I'm having this ping pong match about it. So they're like, just hand over the fear. And it was like every 30 seconds. How's it going to happen? Hand over the fear. We got it handled. It's like, oh yeah, here, angel. I don't know how, but I'm willing to allow. Okay, it's handled. Great. But it's tomorrow. So where is it? And then my client called, and she's retired, and she just does her trips like 1 day a week to save on gas, to conserve the environment and all that. And I live like 30 minutes away from her. And so she was like, oh, your walker bag is done. I was like, oh, that's so nice. She's like, I'll bring it to you. I'm like, oh no, don't go out of your way. Right. We're so used to just deflect. And so I'm like, oh no, in the name of being nice, by the way. No, I'm going to be right by your house tomorrow for my doctor's appointment, because literally my doctor was right by her house downtown. And I was like, don't waste your time coming out here. She's like, no, please let me bring it to you. I'm like, okay, yes. So she came in, and she came over, and I could feel that there was a card in the bag. It's always that awkward, like, do I read the card or just not? I decided to wait till she left, but anyways, I opened the card and I read it, and guess what? $500 just fell in my lap, literally. And I was like, oh, it's exactly what I needed on the 11th hour, which is often how it comes. But I had to hold that faith, right? And I had to let myself receive. And so 2 things, this is a big thing. So basically I let myself receive. She brought it to me. It came in exactly when I needed it. And it was very, it was humbling a lot. It was a lot humbling for sure to have to be in that position, because I always prided, I guess, on being able to do it and handle it, everything. But also it was the universe came back to me after my angels, and they're just like, do you see, we're working hard. We told you we had it handled, girl. And you're like, no, don't need the bag. No, don't bring it out. No, out of nice, and I was like, oh, I mean, they probably would have found another way, right? They probably would have, but maybe I would have said, no, deflect. No, out of being nice, too proud or too nice. Oh, I'm actually doing a kind thing for you. No, right? That's what we do. And the universe is like, for the love of God already, just freaking receive it. We're working hard over here. You're making it hard, And so I was like, oh my God. Okay. So I had to learn a lot of lessons about receiving. And sometimes it can be humbling, and it can be as simple as letting somebody give you a compliment. How often do you get a compliment and you go, about, oh, I like your shirt. Oh, this whole thing, I got it on sale. It's like we immediately deflect, right? Or minimize it or shrink it, right? Or like, so just start receiving and notice when you deflect, little things, big things, and little things, right? So maybe you could do like another thing that was like, I started practicing the simple things, just receive a compliment and don't feel the need to compliment back. I mean, sometimes you can compliment back if it's genuine, but sometimes we just deflect it back. I can't keep it, so I'm going to give it back to you. You know what I mean? It's a polite thing to do or whatever. See if you can just like have somebody give you a compliment and receive it, right? That's a receive. Or another one could be, and notice your mind. What happens in your mind when you do it? At the grocery store, for instance, usually people say, oh, can I don't know if they do it everywhere, but here it's like, oh, can we take your bags to your car? And I'm always like, oh no, I got it. Oh, somebody else needs it more. Oh no, I got it. Like, it's not like I'm fine and capable. I should leave it for somebody who doesn't need it, right? So how about just saying I did that? I'm like, yeah, thank you. That was hard. Like I was surprised that was hard because there's a part of me that went into this whole thing about lazy or other people need it more or like what, I don't know. It was this whole thing like I could carry my bag of groceries out, but no, I was in this mode of like just letting myself do the uncomfortable receiving things like, yeah, thank you, that would be nice, and let them take your bags out, or little things or big things, and just notice yourself and just start to let yourself be supported, because you can't give from an empty cup. You can't. And so part of us, I think a lot of us have to, like, first of all, at least release the control, and then we have to feel worthy, and we kind of have to sometimes, be humbled in the process to learn that. But those were like some really powerful shifts, very powerful shifts that I've had, and like kind of big teaching moments that the universe gave me to receive. So I hope that helped a little bit. Take from it what you will, but we really are deserving of everything. We really are inherently worthy. We just don't see it, or we don't believe it, or we're afraid, or we make up stories that aren't real, so get underneath it. What is actually going on underneath why you're not allowing yourself to receive? And you'll start to see your things shift pretty quickly. Right. And sometimes it will actually be, especially like at that time too, I was working really hard. I didn't know how to like give back to myself when I was doing hair at that time, because I was managing the house, and I was doing the network, and I was doing the clients, and I was being the mom. We got soccer games, and I was just always just burning the candle at all ends. And I could do it, and I had to do it, and I did it, but I was exhausted a lot, And so I think that there's a sense of like, no, you just need to like let it come back to you. And that's why I think where sometimes disease comes, or, I just used to, not anymore, right, create through accidents in that way, because it forced me to sit down and just kind of like I wasn't stopping enough to even get what I needed to get, right? And I had to just be humbled in that way. So anyways, those are all things that shifted. Yes, kind gestures and flow of beautiful, positive energy, continuing the flow. Absolutely. I know sometimes my mind and ego has other agenda or old stories. Yeah, you have to catch them, right? It's like, listen, because and sometimes we get frustrated too. Sometimes we have to like catch that, and people, if it's still there, then it's still there. Even if you've done work, you just might have to go deeper into work, right? A new level. You just always have more. I am worthy. I am loved. I am capable. Absolutely. I'm strong. I am loved. I love it, Lisa. You are. This is a good feel share. Love it. Good. I know money can be a little bit like cringy, but it's your best teacher. Honestly, it's your best teacher. So with the worse off things are, the more that we have a desire for it to catapult you over there. And it's the first step of we have to release to receive. We have to release to receive, right? We have to release to receive. And so work with the energy of really giving yourself a little time and space to think about some of these things. Think about what stories run in your mind, what fear is that you're using, right? What is your story? And actually what's underneath the story, because I'll tell you, it's not ever really about the money. It's not really ever only about the money. You think it is, but it's not. It's really about stepping into your power, stepping into your purpose. If we don't let go of what's filling that space, we can't have the new thing come in. So often with job losses or loss of income, it's really it's really what we've called in. I do feel we were working with the universe in that way, but it's happening because we need to let go of something that's space holding a lower vibration than what we actually deserve. And if we can't leap into that net and the in-between, we'll just keep holding on to the thing that's space holding from what we really want. And you won't let the money in. I had a client, I was personal coaching with somebody a while back, and she was on unemployment, and she's like, my God, I'm trying to get my spiritual work going. I think it's an opportunity during this time, like it's a blessing to lose my job, but I've been on unemployment, but I'm holding on to it because I'm not making money in my spiritual work yet. And I'm like, yeah, but you have to look at that. You have to allow yourself to be willing to let that go in order to let the next thing in, And she's like, oh, you're right. Like I am holding on to that security and it's not allowing this, but maybe if you let go of that security, you could allow it. And so, yes, she used that time to create foundation work, but at a certain point, she had to be willing to let go of the security in order to receive the next level. And she did. And I'm so proud of her. And she, sometimes she'll just randomly, it's been several years, since we've met, and she's taken several of my courses. And so she just, every now and then she'll just pop in with a little mess. I'm watching her do her thing, rock her little queendom, helping people. And she's like, thank you. She just messaged me actually recently. That's probably why the story popped up. She's like, I just wanted to tell you, I appreciate you so much. I was like, thank you. And look at you, rock it. But sometimes she was held in that space for a long time. And I was with my hair, but was underneath it. It was something underneath it. I was afraid to step into my purpose because I thought it was going to take something away from me. It never will. It never will. And we always do have free will of choice. But again, just because we see this vision for ourselves is not guaranteed. It is not guaranteed. We have to choose it. We have to keep choosing it. We have to be committed to it. We have to keep doing the work in order to align with it. And it will always support you if you do. You know what I mean? Me getting really sick, letting go and relaxing exactly how my business was downloaded. Love it, Danny. That's what happened to me too. Like during that time, I was like getting all these downloads. I didn't feel guilty actually. But I was like having so much fun. Like, wow, this is kind of fun. I'm not working. I'm getting all my needs met, And it was important for me to see that, right? In that big way. I could just chat about this for a long time, right? You guys can tell I like to just talk with you. I just like to talk with you. But how fun, right? I get to make money doing what I love, right? And we're all supposed to, and we're all meant to, and we all get to, if we know that we're worthy of it and we trust it, Yes, it can be tough in the beginning, but this is practice of self-mastery. Absolutely, Sakura, and you are a beautiful example of that. Beautiful example of that. So yes, that's what I have for you all today. In the spirit of that, I want to just thank you all, first of all, for being here with me. I hope you've learned a lot. I hope you've gained a lot. I've loved getting to know you. You're in my community now. This series is ending and we're getting ready to close enrollment for the Soul Success Unleashed program. So if you feel so inclined, I'd be happy to talk to you. I've been having very powerful and fun messages with people on Facebook Messenger. I do have a few spots left and you have to register for that. So please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to chat with you for sure. If you have questions about joining us, you get access right away to all of the first 2 weeks of the Energetic Mastery program, which is the powerful, tools and life-changing. People every time will say it's worth the whole price of the whole program. But we just start with these foundational tools that you get right away. So I jumped in, I was on the fence and I jumped in. Woo! I love it. So happy. Any advice for those with joint accounts of partners living in lack? Yes, there's a lot there. I mean, I don't know, do you mean specifically in general or for the program? Because for the program, my suggestion is two things. Because I have had people come to me going, I really want to do this. My partner thinks it's all woo-woo or all weird or doesn't buy it or in lack or whatever. And so ultimately, we all have to choose our own healing first. But I do get it, especially if they're making money and you're stay at home or something like that, whatever. My approach with that would be that you sit for a second and you get aligned first with yourself. You look at the benefits. What does this mean to you? What is it that you feel you can gain from this course? What is it that you're excited about? Why are you leaning in? Why is it important to you? What do you think you can benefit from it? And make a list of those things ahead of time so that you're very clear about it. Because if you go into that conversation with the energy of, oh God, he's going to say no. He's going to say no. Can I please, I know you're not into it, but if you go in with that energy, you're pummeled. You probably won't get it. I mean, there's a higher chance you wouldn't get it, especially if you're feeling that way. So you want to get your stuff aligned. You want to get clear, like what are the benefits? And you want to be very solid and clear in that. And then you want to talk to their higher self first. I often talk to the higher self first with tough conversations. And then that way it grounds the energy of it. And you kind of set the energy and ask your archangels to help you have the words. Archangel Gabriel is really good with words. And so you can ask Archangel Gabriel to help guide your words. And then from there, you just have the conversation, but you go in with the benefit. You go and you say, you know what? I would like to have your support in this, and this is why I'd like to join it. Do you know what I mean? So that's what you want to say to a partner, is to say, you know what? This is a program. It's important to me, and I think I could benefit this way. And so I would love your support in it. You see how you're coming with an open heart. So that's my suggestion to those of you that want to jump in the program that have issue. I've also had people do it on their own accounts. They've said, you know what? And I'm not saying be sneaky, but I've had people say, I can do this on my PayPal account, okay? Because he doesn't get it, but I need it. Now, manifesting with people and partners that are in lack to begin with is, you can still do it. Nobody's in control of your abundance. It's harder. It's part of your path if you're there. It's part of your path. But nobody gets to affect your alignment. The government doesn't get to, your partner doesn't get to, your parents don't get to, nobody gets to affect your alignment unless you let it. And so you want to kind of use that as a way to just really own your own power, own your own energy, own your own manifesting abilities. And then just also know that how is it lighting you up? How is their lack? How is their drain? How is their limitation? What do you actually feel? Not about them. Take it out of their hands. How is your husband's actions towards you making you feel? do the work there, do the work there, do the work there. And then it has to shift. It has to shift. It's law of attraction. Alignment will come in. Does that make sense? Just do it. No regrets. Exactly. All right. You're the most important investment you'll ever make. Absolutely. Yay. You will not regret it. Absolutely. Thank you, Michelle. Best program ever. Thank you. All right. I think that's what I got for you all today. I feel like I'm doing double work, raising frequency all the time. It's exhausting. Yeah, just own your energy. Guess what? Because you're in the program, the energetic mastery tools are going to really, really, really help you. So if you have partners or people in your life or work, or even if it's mainstream work, using the basic energetic mastery tools will help you hold your vibration and not dim down, which is we're used to matching down or absorbing them, which brings us down. It helps us keep our alignment and stay loving and stay high, even if they're not, you know what I mean? Which gives us more objective standpoint in order to actually shift the energy. So I hope that makes sense. All right, that's it. Big love.